Hello there everybody, Sublime92 aka Nightmare, and before this video actually gets started, there was a bit of an issue yesterday. Well, let me put it to you this way. There's a reason why last week's episode kind of cut off abruptly. And it's mostly due to my own, I made a mistake. Basically what I did was I kind of took a break mid-recording of that particular episode. It was actually supposed to be longer, and in my haste to get the video complete, I forgot to add on the other portion of the video. That's why I had to quickly delete yesterday's video, because it kind of continues off of the segment that I kind of, I failed to put in. So, unfortunately, the initial reaction to what occurs next, unfortunately, was lost. So, but that's not going to stop me, though. I am going to go over it once again, because for those of you who have never even played DS Irae, I don't want you guys to be behind or lost as to what's going to happen. So technically today's video is going to be it's going to be a much longer video. I'm just going to have to go over a lot of the stuff that I did miss. I will go ahead and apologize for that. I know, I goofed. I wish I didn't goof. But unfortunately, I did. So I'm going to try to make up for that and continue where I left off on last week's episode. But don't worry, after that, after we've kind of got back to the original timeline, the rest of this video will, the first half of this is me going over the stuff that I lost the footage for. While the rest of it is going to be, my blind reactions to the stuff that happens later on. Obviously, you'll tell by the different color of the text. So, anyway, I'm going to jump right all the way back over to the segment that I failed to include. See you guys there. And now we are finally continuing where I left off the last time. As repeated, unfortunately, the original initial video footage and reaction that I had is kaput, gone. But, to those who, again, haven't fully experienced DS Irae, this is for you. I don't want you to miss out on anything that's about to happen. That was a bluff, obviously. All I had to do was relinquish control to the guy that could knock me out. The one whose creation figment transformed their own body. There were two like that inside the bastard. The one that used poison, and the other with the lightning. If the former came back up to the surface, I'd likely die in an instant. I had no choice but to bet my life on this. After all, I couldn't. Definitely not! So... And in the very next moment... There it is! Did my words finally get through? Still fucking beautiful. I don't care if I've already seen this. I don't care if there's foreknowledge existing inside of me. That is still badass! As an explosion of purple lightning knocked me off my feet, I realized that my prayers had been answered. That was exactly what I'd been aiming for. All I had to do now was to negotiate with this one. However... Instead, the bastard lunged at me with lightning speed, rambling incomprehensibly. The hell? What was wrong with him now? He gave me two choices, and no time to consider the alternatives. Kay's sword pierced through the burning air for the 50th time with seemingly inexhaustible ferocity. Unfortunately, it didn't look like she'd be going anywhere without at least another 50 strikes. Her opponent was but one man, the Wicked Saint. The blade she held had spilled the blood of countless men and devoured souls beyond count. Each strike she launched came with a full intent to take a life. Her technique was utterly devoid of feints or trickery. No man that met this blazing inferno of a calamity in battle could escape unharmed. And yet... the fire of her steel raged undisturbed, yet her heart and soul were slowly beginning to frost over from mortal dread. Why wouldn't he fall? How could he still keep on standing? All of her attacks had been perfect. He could not dodge a single one. All of them were clean hits, crashing straight into his vitals. Any other opponent's body should have been mercilessly shredded to bits. Her sword had no effect. It couldn't so much as graze her completely motionless opponent. She understood but one thing. She could not stop attacking. The moment she halted in her tracks, her life would be forfeit. Kay lunged forward with a cry that was as much a vigorous roar as it was a scream of terror. Not allowing herself to falter even for a second, she focused her entire being on maintaining an incessant torrent of attacks.
無駄です。もうおやめなさい。どうやら買いかぶりでしたかね。正直落胆しましたよ。
His words, ringing like a prayer of lament, Tarifa caught Kay's sword with his bare hand.
昔教えたはずでしょう。正体のわからぬ敵にむやみやたらと攻め込むな。こちらの技が効かぬ場合は速やかにかつ深く洞察せよ。
Even if I have been cursed with foreknowledge because of the lack of the original footage, this still sends chills down my spine. And I'm being serious, like, seriously, there is something about Tarifa's theme, Lohengrin, that just... I don't know.
そして勝てぬと判断すれば、脇目も振らずに逃走するべし。
He added more strength to his grip, realizing that her blade might shatter. Kay leapt backwards. The priest did not bother to pursue her and instead made a faint smile.
たった3つ。しかし戦いにおいて最も遵守すべき三原則。あなたはそれを残らず忘れていたようだ。直情なのも結構ですが、少しは冷静になりなさい。それで、さてどうしますか?
The priest was urging her to stop, yet Kay, heaving a deep sigh, readied her sword once again.
愚問です。
She could no longer back down.
それは愚刀というものですよ。
私はそう思わない。
Indeed, the first couple of blows admittedly made her lose her cool. The truth revealed by the priest had certainly shaken her to the very core. She could not blame the outcome on luck or coincidence, either, for the tall man did everything on purpose. She was still a relative newcomer to the battlefield, and thus his reprimand had been on point. But it would not be like this from now on.
あなたは何者ですか、ゲイ君。
When faced with an enemy of unknown origin, she had to use everything in her power to identify them, then come up with an effective neutralization strategy. She recalled him saying that the divine vessel was indestructible.
あれはただの比喩じゃなさそうですね。
100 blows failed to even leave a scratch on his body, and it certainly wasn't for lack of strength on Kay's part. His sheer endurance simply defied all common sense. Was the difference in their soul density to blame? No, it couldn't be. The priest possessed several immense souls, but certainly not enough to maintain such a colossal advantage.
まあ、単純な高で測るものでもありませんがね。
Likely guessing what had been on Kay's mind, Tarifa addressed her like he would one of his students.
まず我々の一員となる資格。それこそピンからキリまでありますが、超えねばならぬ最低線は大体規模の魂を有すること。
One had to possess at least 1,000 to call themselves a Knight of the Obsidian Round Table.
あなたがちょうどそれくらい。マレウスが連帯規模、米中尉は旅団といったところでしょうか。そして問題となる私のそれは、米とそう変わるものではありません。むしろ、質という面を見れば、彼より数段劣ると言える。戦場を渡り歩いていた吸血鬼は、戦士の血を好んで吸い、私の中身は女子供と老人ばかり。弱者は救済せねばなりません。ゆえあなたの予想は外れている。
Then what on earth was going on? It made no sense for the sword that split Wilhelm apart to lose its edge against the priest.
先に事実を伝えましょう。私を破壊するには双軍を超える魂がいる。
バカな。
She could not prevent a gasp from escaping her lips. The man's words made no sense to her. A legion meant over 1,000,000 souls. It did not even possess an upper limit. It merely meant the entire army.
あなたは一体。
考えなさい。悩みなさい。そして成長するのです。あなたも私の娘ならば。
The next moment, the priest's palm crashed into Kay's solar plexus. The blow came with such force she expected to shatter her spine. But before Kay could collapse from the pain, the priest's hands seized her uniform and sent her flying towards the ceiling. However, as she crashed into the concrete, she held on so as not to fall down. Had she fallen back into the priest's deadly embrace, it would have been the end for her. Instead, she kicked off the ceiling and shot towards her foe at the speed of a bullet. If hacking him from all angles had no effect, she would instead concentrate on a single point, stabbing at it until her sword got through like a needle. Oh. Directing all kinetic energy of the fall into her thrust, Kay plunged her sword into the priest's abdomen, right where the stigma of the Knights of the Obsidian Table had been located. Yet, despite pouring all her strength into the attack, the blade bounced back, causing no damage. Now the worst part is, because I've witnessed what's going on, I'm suddenly tackling this with a much more cynical... Oh god, don't tell me. I better not be turning into one of them. But that was fine. She didn't care. If one thrust wasn't enough, she'd keep stabbing him until her blade got through. She directed all of her subsequent attacks at the same precise point, not deviating a millimeter in her aim. From the side, the action seemed akin to trying to open a hole in a concrete wall using only a needle. Possibly the best metaphor to describe just frigging the priest, Torifa, in. That's the best way to describe him.
発想は悪くないが。
One of his long arms suddenly jerked towards her like a snake. She had no time to dodge. The priest's palm crashed into her jaw, popping a few teeth out of their gums while numbing her brain. Yet Kay persevered, never once halting her onslaught.
ベイの拳の方が痛かったですよ。
She was not merely trying to act tough. While the priest boasted an impenetrable armor, he had yet to unsheath a truly intimidating weapon. She would endure 100 of his punches if she had to. In short, their battle came down to which one of the two would yield first. That's the problem with going up against an indomitable foe. You never want to go into a battle of attrition against one whose defenses are so superior. You'll eventually lose. Torifa took a step back as Caleb's kept stabbing at his side. Her attacks had grown even fiercer and deadlier, but the impregnable divine vessel showed no signs of contorting, much less cracking open. The priest's palm flew through the air haphazardly, as if he had been trying to wave off a fly, and landed a clean hit on the unsuspecting Kay's temple. Nonetheless, she endured and launched her next thrust. The priest lost his balance to the blow and crashed into the stained glass window behind him, sending a rainbow of shattered glass dancing through the air. Under normal circumstances, the hit should have proven lethal, but Kay judged it to have had no effect. She had to choose between pursuing the defenseless target or using the momentary break to rest. However, as she was about to continue her onslaught, her feet inexplicably stopped dead in their tracks. A nigh palpable sense of danger hung heavy in the air. Her sixth sense told her that if she took another step forward, she would find herself in mortal peril. Abiding by the priest's prior warning that no good would come from mindlessly attacking a target she didn't fully comprehend, Kay decided to wait and observe. After all, her foe had yet to even form his Irae. Watching him activate it without interrupting him would be the height of folly, yet a careless lunge now would only earn her a fierce counterattack. In short, she stood before a turning point, expecting the priest's armor to grow thinner once he brought his weapon out into the open.
そろそろ立ってはどうですか。まだあなたが何かを隠しているのは分かっています。
Valeria Tarifa handled both defense and offense with his bare hands. As such, Kay's current priority lay in figuring out the nature of his Irae. She believed that to be the key to unraveling the secrets behind his inhuman sturdiness. What could it be, though? She hadn't the faintest notion.
黄金生産杯
Oh God, no matter. The priest rose to his feet, brushing dust and pieces of glass off his mantle.
我が生異物の名前です。察しはついていたはずでしょう。その形成をここで見極め、さらなる判断材料を増やして攻略手段を模索する。まあ間違ってはいませんが、無駄ですよ。
無駄。
Did he mean to imply that the forming of his Irae would unveil no holes in defense? Nor would it hint at one. No, that could not be true. No being in this world can be completely invincible.
私と、そしてマキナ卿、少々特殊な例でしてね、理解できぬかもしれませんが、出そうと出すまいと何も変わらないし、この状況も動かない。
Not a single one of Kay's attacks could even scratch him, and while she could endure his blows for the time being, they were gradually beginning to wear her down. Could the priest have meant that? No, impossible! Bakano! They were locked in a battle of attrition. She would stab him 100 times for each of his punches. The last one standing would emerge as the victor. If he planned on hiding it, then so be it. She would keep on hacking away at him until he had no choice but to unveil his secret. Kay lurched forward, thrust once again, at the priest's left side. This time, however, he indifferently brushed her sword away with his palm.
まったく、本当に単調な攻撃だ。私がいつまでもこんなものを無抵抗で受け続けるとでも思ったのですか?
Focusing on penetrating a singular point was indeed a sound strategy when faced with armor this sturdy. However,
どこに来るか分かっていれば、どんなものでもこうしますよ。先ほどまで許していたのは、いずれ値を上げるだろうと思ったからです。が、どうやらあなたの愚直さを侮っていたらしい。このままでは永遠に不毛な真似をしかねないので、今後はそれなりに応戦しましょう。
You might want to run! His palm crashed into Kay's breastbone right above her heart. The strength of the blow remained the same as before. In other words, she could endure it well enough. And yet, for some odd reason, its impact reverberated across her whole body.
単純な技術面では、あなたの方が上かもしれない。
Kay staggered backwards as the priest leveled a rapid succession of punches at her, each heavier than the last. Her heart grew weaker with each successive hit.
見事だ。よく成長しましたよ、お嬢さん。私が生粋の兵士でないとはいえ、短期間で死の力量を超えたということに変わりはない。
Indeed, as far as fighting technique was concerned, Kay had been obviously above the priest. She outperformed him in everything. And yet...
しかしそれは、生産杯を壊せるほどの差ではない。
Kay had yet to reach a level where she could answer one of the priest's attacks with 100 precise thrusts of her own. Would this be the end of her? No, she would not acknowledge it. Her countless wounds had stained her clothes a deep crimson, yet Kay still launched a desperate swing at the priest. Her blade hit, yet it stopped right at the priest's neck, lacking the strength to even graze his skin, let alone draw blood. Another palm crashed into Kay's solar plexus, sending her flying as blood burst forth from her mouth. She finally realized that while the priest's attacks lacked in raw destructive power, they were all designed to slowly but surely end her life. However, there was one rule that no one in this world could bend. Those that wielded Irae could only be killed by one. In other words, if he truly planned to kill Kay with his bare hands, it could mean only one thing. Yep!
私こそが生産杯
His own body was as Irae. As a special case that encompassed both materialization and fusion, it continually existed in a formed state. In other words, that was already the extent of his offense-defense. Much like he had said, the flow of this battle would not be affected by whether or not he formed as Irae. The truth rang in Kay's mind like a death sentence.
Yeah.
'Twas still too early to give up. At least, now she knew it was unlikely he could raise his destructive power. That at least, she could still endure. She needed to come up with a plan before her soul yielded to despair. I can hear Monokuma giggling in the background right now. She had to find a weakness, a fatal flaw in his defense. Such a thing might not exist, and she could very well end up only wasting her time. But she couldn't simply give up at this point.
なるほど
Trifa gave a deliberate nod as he observed Kay rise to her feet.
鎧の隙間を見つけるといいですね確かにそう悪くないいいやそれが唯一の道だ引きなさいレオンハルト実のところ私を破壊する術は3つある
Was he telling the truth, or was that merely another one of his lies, woven only to thwart her? She could not tell, but it would not hurt to listen for now. Trifa, meanwhile, just raised 3 fingers before her.
まず第一はマキナ教の一撃条理を無視した終焉のルール
That right there kind of scares me.
そして第2は言いましたね総軍を超える魂をぶつけること
Well, we kind of missed our opportunity to go on a genocidal rampage, so much for that.
この2つどちらもあなたには不可能だ
An all-ending decree that ignored the laws of physics, or strength surpassing that of an army. Kay possessed neither of these things.
ハイドリ秘境のレギオン副首領閣下の砲術それらの強度はもはや常軌を逸しているこれは実際完全無欠と言って構わぬ領域だ方法その2などは理論上のみの話であってそんな魂が実在するかどうか私とてわからない故にマキナ教彼が暫定ではハイドリ秘境に次ぐ強者として私は一目置いているのですよ下手をすれば主殺しすら可能であるものとしてね
But, unfortunately, Machina is truly subservient to Lord Hydric. A wry smile appeared on Trifa's lips as he described the nature of their Deus Ex Machina with a hint of reverence in his tone.
つまりですねレオンハルト今までのあなたのように真っ向ぶつかって私を壊せる者などマキナ教しかいないのですよ故に彼以外の者がそれをなそうとするのなら必然第三の方法しかなくなります
それが
そうすなわち隙間を見つけること
Provided such a thing truly existed. It had to. He implied it himself.
なぜ今私にそれを
Because I like fucking with you, basically.
さて
Tarifa shrugged his shoulder with a smile, as if implying he had said all this merely on a whim. The unveiling of his only weakness did not seem to affect his air of mocking superiority in the slightest.
信じる信じないはお好きなように。もしかしたら私は単にあなたをなぶろうとしているだけかもしれない。
He might have been trying to instill false hope in her, only to later plunge her into an even deeper pit of despair. After all, it was a truly effective way of breaking one's heart and resolve. This would hardly be the first time he had done it. However,
忘れてもらっては困ります。
that she was a tremendously sore loser! The chink in the priest's armor would likely not manifest under normal circumstances. There was no patch of skin on his body she hadn't attacked yet, and Kay would have noticed if the priest was consciously trying to defend a particular spot. As such, she had to make a gamble with fate. She would pour her entire being, all the strength and vitality she still had left after that ceaseless onslaught into this final attack. Kay realized that the priest likely revealed his secret in order to incite this very action from her. As long as she could not overpower him in a regular battle, he would not show a gap in his defenses. As such, Kay needed to put her life on the line if she wanted results. After channeling her being into this strike, she would need to follow it up with another to deliver the finishing blow. Whether or not she possessed the power to overcome that contradiction, she did not know, but there was no other way. Various scenes from Kay's life flashed through her mind as she entered a state of trance, singing her aria of war. Happy memories of her childhood. Those blissful days filled with warmth. And the merciless whirlwind of blood that swept them all away.
なんだ、やっぱり。
Deep down, he was just like Fuji. She had already gone past the point of no return. So she hoped that he, at least, could avoid becoming like her. Alrighty! Ignite in flames, Sakurai! Her flames turned into a storm, their crimson wings enveloping the church. This would decide everything. If the divine vessel felt himself powerful enough to shatter the blazing scarlet fire of her conviction, he was more than welcome to try. It was the priest's turn to take the bait. No mere punch would extinguish her flames now. As such, he would need to unveil his trump card. He would need to open up his defenses in order to reveal the zealous craving burning in his heart. Tears of blood trickled down the priest's cheeks as he witnessed Kay evoke her creation figment. The stigmata on his hands, legs, and abdomen all howled in unison, leaking fresh blood. Having reached the final stage, it appeared they could contain themselves no longer. Yet Tarifa remained unconcerned, for he shared in that sentiment with all his heart and soul. And for that reason, even though he could have worn the girl down till she was all but dead, he chose to reveal his trump card in order to end her life in an instant. Only that would break her heart and resolve. Someone, Kay, Tarifa, Ren, or Kane, would soon meet their end. Tarifa would sacrifice them all to the seventh swastika. This in turn would taint the pentachroma, thwarting the return of gold. And with that, he would finally hoist the cross of eternal penance on his shoulder and make his first commemorable journey down to hell. Tarifa made the smile of a loving father, all traces of malice gone from his features, and motioned for Kay to step forward. He would betray everyone to save all. Such was the man's resolve.
キルヒ愛全教もあなたの兄もいずれ私が救います。そこに藤井さんも入れたいのならば4人で幸せになればよい。所詮バルハラなどシャンバラなど泡沫のチリアクタに過ぎぬゆえ私が何度でも作りますから。
Kay lunged forward. She had to slay this man no matter the cost. She hoped her brother and Beatrice would watch over her. She had been too foolish to understand what those two really wished for. She knew they must have felt indignation at the priest's vile trickery. After all, the two had been in love. And the fact they ended up crossing blades was likely Kay's own fault. Thus, it was her duty to put an end to this tragic tale. She soared onwards like a raging comet. Her heart transcended regret, anger, and sorrow, turning completely serene. It was neither revenge nor a desire to surpass one's tutor that drove her onwards now. She would cleave him apart, and with it, the chains binding her to the past. No other path could lead her to a brighter tomorrow. However, if she had been permitted to speak her true feelings, not as a blade of the lion, but as a simple, feeble woman. If her fate was to burn to cinders before achieving her goal, Kay had one wish she wanted fulfilled. By this man who had brought her nothing but trouble. This would be her last and only wish. She wished for him to make love to her one last time. She poured her entire soul into that one swing. The attack, sparing not a single drop of her strength, would leave her mortally open. And that moment would prove to be the turning point. The divine vessel would unveil a gap in his armor only as he turned to deliver the finishing blow.
親愛なる白鳥よ、この角笛とこの剣と指輪を彼に与えたまえ。
This very moment, hello! The dead warrior, turning himself into lightning, advanced towards me through the slowed time of my creation figment. The greatsword drew a wide arc, the killing intent behind it nigh palpable. The bastard wanted to end me, no doubt about that. What should I do? What were my options now? Unless I did something quick, Sakurai would likely die. I was neither underestimating her nor trying to inflate my sense of worth. The notion came to me in the form of conviction, as a kind of foreknowledge. But if I killed Kane here and now, the seventh swastika would absorb his soul and I'd lose any chance at saving the bastard. Sakurai would never forgive me for that. I cursed myself. When did I turn into such a sentimental fool? Here I was trying to save people left and right and even hoping for gratitude. If I had the power to make things go that conveniently for me, I wouldn't be in this screwed up situation to begin with. I wouldn't have let hundreds of people die. But at the same time, that was precisely what made me comprehend the weight of a human life. The greatsword shot at me again, spitting lightning everywhere. This moment would decide between life and death. I would never give up! How many times had I messed things up at this point? How many mistakes did I make, and how much did I regret them? You could call me naive all you wanted, but I would never acknowledge a conclusion I didn't like. I caught the giant blade of the greatsword between my two palms. The lightning scorched my flesh, and the force of the blow shook my body to the bones, but I refused to fall. That wasn't enough to make me give up. I couldn't stomach them. I found their very existence repulsive. The bastards kept forcing all sorts of shit on me without caring about my opinion.
別に俺はお前なんか助けてやろうと思ってるわけじゃねえぞ。
I glared at the thing's rotten face from up close. He might have been a puppet or raving mad at the time, but I didn't forget what he did back then. Those dreadful scenes, both at the club and the school, flashed into my mind with stark vividness.
俺はお前が許せね
Sakurai could say whatever she wanted, but I wasn't planning to let the bastard off that easily. He wrought havoc without end, killing hundreds in the process, not to mention kicking my ass a few times too. He even tormented his own sister to the point of tears. I sure as hell wasn't gonna send him to hell just because he asked nicely.
え。だからお前付き合えよ。
I wasn't gonna give him an easy way out, now that he had regained his senses.
俺と一緒に来い。喧嘩はその後だ。分かったかバカ兄貴。
The strength behind the thing's blade began to wane. His teeth clattered, forcing a voice out through his withered throat.
俺は
My name wouldn't mean anything to him. That wasn't what he asked. The words to describe me best at the moment.
桜井圭を助けたがってる男だよ。
We were the same, you and I. A tremble ran across the giant's shoulders. I could feel the legion inside the thing divide and begin to riot. The struggle within him reminded me of a full-blown balloon just waiting to burst at the lightest touch. The four canes emerged on the surface all at once, and any conscious control they had on their giant body completely fell apart. Regardless of what the Sakurai's brother might have wanted, the other three were an amalgamation of malicious rage and bloodlust. And it wouldn't be long until even he ended up swallowed by that ocean of wrath. The senses he had momentarily regained were but a candle's flame against that swirling gale of deep-rooted resentment. Which prompted me to attempt yet another trick I had just come up with. The wildest, craziest gamble of them all! In other words,
お前以外を今から立つ。お前だけを残してやる。
I didn't know if I could do such a thing. I'd never attempted anything of the kind before. But it wouldn't hurt to try, especially since I was clean out of options. I had neither the time nor the energy to calculate and worry about the chances of success. I ignored the monster's ramblings, instead focusing all my attention on the guillotine in my arm. I couldn't pull this off on my own. No way in hell. It was entirely too off the wall to be done by someone like me. So,
マリー、
I need you. Please answer me. You haven't really disappeared, have you? I can still feel you inside, alive. Something merely interfered with the link connecting us. The story had yet to conclude, and I wasn't gonna accept a bad ending. Whatever stands in our way, I'll blow it all to smithereens. So please, come back to me.
さあ、
Let us mark our covenant. One more time.
ギロチンに注ごう。飲み物。
May the guillotine's thirst be quenched. May it bathe in blood. Rubedo negredo. Gold and mercury, even the divine vessel, it didn't matter. The whole of the obsidian table would fall to her blade. So come back to me, Marie.
時よ止まれ。
I would sing the song of bliss in the advent of the promised time. The decapitation scar lit up burning hot on my neck.
お前は美しい。
In that moment, the world was swallowed by eternal twilight.
ほ
Hello there.
これは。
Far away, deep within the throne room of the great Valhalla, the beast made a smile, while Mercury narrowed his eyes. What they expected to be a mere farce was about to take an unexpected turn, the very notion of which filled their hearts with sweet amusement. Could it perhaps lead them to the intoxicating wonder of the unforeseen?
う。では参ろうか。
The monarch of destruction slowly rose from his throne. The gold, the apotheosis of supremacy, would soon descend upon the battlefield. And if he did so, then naturally...
さあ戻れキルヒアイズ。我が元に。
His army of invincible Einrayar would follow. The half-burned features of the Crimson Knightess twisted in jubilance.
面白い
The impregnable lips of the somber knight curled up as he felt the iron curtains he himself had lowered begin to slowly rise.
さてならば私は義務を果たそう。
Mercurius smiled to himself and proceeded down the path alone, only his black coat fluttering behind him. Did that curl of the lips indicate joy or lament? Was the shade scorning or sympathizing with the torment of mortal men? Eventually, he addressed someone not present, each of his words pouring forth like an incantation.
君はそれで良いのだな、マルグリット。
Hello! Something inside my right arm changed. My body had grown lighter and far swifter than before. This was the true form of my creation figment, my overture. A tranquil yet intense essence filled my blade, answering my craving. Not a single moment would escape my grasp now. I could not afford to fail here. This blade existed only to protect each and every moment I cherished. Its very nature prevented it from steering me towards a conclusion I would regret. There was no place for tragedy in our story, Sakurai's and mine. We wished for a joyful conclusion, a happy end to satisfy everyone. Hence, I knew I could do it now. I would sever the shackles that held the 4 Tubal Cains tied together. And once I did, the chaos of the beast engulfed the 4, swallowing the weaker before the strong. Even though one had been freed from the chains of the others, the pull of the swastika would allow no one to escape. However,
踏み応えろ。
the young man's voice lacked even the tiniest hint of doubt as he shouted his order like it was the most obvious thing in the world. His soul was the vessel of a fierce, dazzling soul, burning bright. If only she had as much strength as him back on that day.
遅くはない。
Indeed, it was not too late yet. Now is not the time to worry about being too ashamed to show your face, or concern yourself with the fate of my wretched self. I told you to fix that wishy-washy sign of yours countless times, didn't I? This is a problem I had to solve myself. Something I swore to end with my own generation. It needn't shackle you, Beatrice. You have to learn how to let go. Perhaps the young man's misconception was for the best. My soul is enough to atone for the shameful deeds of my family. A whimper poured forth from her lips as her blind eyes bled fresh tears. She did not want to hear him speak like this. It only made her feel the bigger fool left all alone in the world. You're not alone. Resentment was the only emotion shared by each Cain, their soul bond, and the young man had severed it. That's why you alone have the right to... I mean, did you forget that I called you beautiful? A fate like this doesn't suit you. So please go, and look after her in my stead. She's still a child and needs your help now more than ever. My blade severed Cain's neck, and as it did, the body of the giant burst like a balloon, turning into dust in mere seconds. In its wake, thousands of tiny particles of light rained down upon me like a squall of fireflies. And within that ephemeral light, its majesty hardly befitting the final moments of a so-called monster. I could have sworn I spotted a man smiling at me for a split second. Yet once I blinked, all I saw was the colossal greatsword jutting out of the darkened ground. I fell to my knees. Parts of my withered skin peeled off and fell to the ground. I could feel my body's metabolism resuming as it began to rejuvenate my half-rotten insides. Cain's defeat appeared to have freed me from his poison right away. However, did it all work out the way I wanted? I felt relatively confident that I succeeded in separating the fourth one from the rest. Still, I had no way of telling if he managed to resist the pull of the swastika as it went berserk from the smell of souls. Once again, I had to simply trust in the strength of a third party. I could only hope that Sakurai's brother was really the strong man she made him out to be. In that moment, Kane's greatsword cracked and shattered to pieces before I could even react. I could tell that the priest and Sakurai were still alive as the seventh swastika opened, but what about that brother of hers? Could he have been devoured just now? No. Wait. What the?
Ken.
A new sword now towered in the place where Kane's weapon used to be. A simple hilt conveying an air of gracefulness through its design, with an edge jagged like lightning. It looked more like a work of art than a weapon, something I would expect to see in an art museum. Could this have been? As I reached out towards the hilt, still somewhat hesitant, the sword suddenly erupted into an explosion of dazzling light. And now, this was future Sobata, and now I will leave this on to past Sobata, where everything is pretty much blind to him. Take it away, me. Meanwhile, ah, my beloved dearest swan. Behold this horn, this sword, this ring, and bestow upon him all three. A sonorous sermon of wicked sanctity reverberated across the burning walls of the chapel. The time had come for the true nature of the divine vessel to be unveiled. A man that could very well be considered the Obsidian Table's strongest knight. For the horn shall aid him in his time of need. And the sword shall deliver unto him victory most fortuitous. The comet of scarlet flames had already closed in onto the priest's very feet. He could feel the pressure of its scorching heat on his skin. It was a desperate charge with one's whole being behind it. An attack meant to claim the life of its target. Hence, the time to draw the curtains had arrived. Fare thee well, cherished Iron Maiden. Lion Maiden, fuck! Can y'all tell that I'm dyslexic? But this ring shall serve to remind him of me. Thou shalt be saved from the terror of eternal recurrence. Requiesce in pace, Leonard. Or requisat. I have no idea. Leonard, the hands of the Messiah rest upon thee. So Gottfried himself may know the name of he who freed you from torment and disgrace. Oh boy. The scarlet blade crashed into the priest's shoulder with unparalleled vigor, yet it stopped dead in its tracks, unable to rend flesh. His mantle torn, the priest's bare skin emerged in the open without as much as a single burn to taint its pallid complexion. Subarashi. Yet the invulnerable man had nothing but praise for the girl in his heart. A poignant emotion welled up in his chest as he shed tears of blood that would unfortunately evaporate almost instantly in the scorching heat. Oh boy. Not even one of the battalion commanders could have escaped from this blow unscathed. The priest felt nothing but awe and reverence for this grand ascension of the girl's passion. Nevertheless, her path had been blocked by the divine vessel, an indestructible instrument of the gods. Oh boy! Tarifa made the sign of the cross as he uttered the final syllables of his sermon. The girl had no way of escaping him now. Oh boy! She might have steeled her resolve to bend the rules of the world and summon another blow from nothing. But no hope could persist in the face of his blade, the fangs of his craving. That was a persona sound effect! to the realm of God. The might of the Lord, what he lusted for, what he madly desired, was the power of the Absolute. So that he would never have to lose anyone precious to him again, to never have to destroy them by his own hands again. He craved for power beyond all measure. He craved to become him. Soul free, Swan Knight of Gold. Oh boy. There it be! Okay, you guys might not believe me, but right after that happened, I started having a coughing fit and I started choking, so I think... I think this is actually affecting me. The radiant beam of golden light paralyzed Kay. She used up all her strength and resolve to bolster the fire, pouring her entire soul into this one attack. To continue, she would truly have to conjure power from nothing. She knew it would come down to this, and had been prepared to sacrifice everything to deliver a second blow. Yet her void trembled and began dissipating in the face of the supreme divinity radiated by the priest's lance. No mortal could sustain a state of idleness before that light. An exalted, all-powerful divine artifact, the very lance that once spilled the blood of God. Despite knowing full well that speech would only disturb her state of nothingness even further, she could not help giving voice to her bewilderment. It was almost as if the priest was actually him. The impenetrable armor of the divine vessel ruptured for a moment to let the lance emerge from its being. Now was the perfect chance to strike, and yet... Yet she could not move an inch. With her state of nothingness, a mind of void disrupted, she was no better than a powerless cadaver. Kai and Beatrice. However, in that moment... Oh. A familiar voice, one she hadn't heard for years, echoed within her. She could have never forgotten that voice. Yes, one more strike and it would all... One more strike and... Kay could no longer contain her tears. She thought she would never meet her again, that all had been lost. She suffered so much pain and terror, wrestled with crushing loneliness on a daily basis. If this was a dream, she wished never to wake from it. She yearned to once again call her name like she used to. She cried out the name as if beseeching the divines. And the miracle answered. Sup, bitches? The gates of the church shattered as a silver blade emerged from the cloud of dust and rubble. It shot straight towards the priest like a bolt of lightning, answering the call of its summoner. How could that weapon possibly be here? It should have shattered and turned to dust the moment Caden fell, for the giant absorbed everything as part of its body. She transformed it into a persona for the dead warrior, into its sheath. She separated it from the rest of the false lance's legion, only temporarily attaching it to the whole, thus preserving its individual existence. That was why it couldn't be absorbed by the swastika with the rest of Kane's souls once Ren Fuji had slain the defective Einrayar. But for what purpose would they? Kay caught the lightning blade in her right hand and let the inertia of the projectile guide her. With the emergence of the second blade, the possibility of a second strike revived from the ashes of despair like a phoenix. Go! Not like a man of Valeria Trifa's disposition could ever understand. It was a concept beyond the priest. He who thought of souls in the lives of mortal men as no more than perpetually recycled trash. A terrible shudder rushed down Tarifa's spine. Still, he remained steadfast in his position, despite a torturing inclination to step back.
何をバカな。
He could not lose. He could not fall. He would tread the world for an eternity! He had yet to atone for his sins.
私は罪人だ。英語を償い続ける拷罰の領袖。
If he fell here, then what would become of the beloved children he had been forced to betray? Who would save their souls? Or could this be precisely the punishment that the Lord would exact upon him?
いいな。断じていいな。
He would never accept this. He was meant to be a prisoner to eternal penance. He had walked the path of the wicked saint with unparalleled zeal and pride. He would not allow his sacred mission to be halted, not by anyone.
私は負けぬ。負けられぬ。
Are you sure about that?
それはあなただけの気持ちじゃない。
The blade of the Valkyrie, blessed by divine thunder, had proved faster than even the lance of sacred creed. For its strike, capable of outrunning lightning itself, had boasted inhuman speed, even among members of the Obsidian Table. Only Schreiber, whose boundless acceleration depended on the speed of his opponents, and Ren, who possessed the power to halt time, would ever stand a chance against the electromagnetic dance of the Valkyrie. Gotcha, bitch!
ならば私は。
That looks so cool. What could have been the cause of his fall? When did he make such a fatal mistake? The moment he decided to finish Kei with the Holy Lance? When he forced Kane to meet Ren Fuji in battle? Should he have allowed Lord Schreiber to remain in the mortal realm? Or was it the betrayal of First Lieutenant Bay that proved to be his undoing? Lisa, Malleus, Spine. He could not understand. He could not find a single mistake in his designs. He manipulated everyone, played them all like a fiddle. He boasted full confidence in his victory.
Oh.
That was it! He had finally understood. His fall was set in stone 11 years ago. His beloved children abandoned him the moment he chose to pit the two lovers against each other. All his schemes began falling apart, as he forced others to commit the very same mortal sin that had been his very own origin.
さらばです。生産背景か。
That looks so fucking cool!
もう誰一人としてあなたに惑わされるものは生まれない。
The tip of the Valkyrie's blade slipped through the chink in his armor like a crafting needle, exploding in purple lightning. The impregnable vessel of the gods began to crumble.
Oh.
Valeria Tarifa could no longer remain in this body. As the blade pierced his chest, his soul had been expunged and began to dissipate. However... Uh-oh. However, Kay could not have foreseen what her rash actions would cause. She could not have known what would have happened if the priest had been liberated from the divine vessel.
逃げなさい。
Flee swiftly and immediately. The seventh swastika had opened. Only one remained, and the moment it was satisfied. Within the dark depths of his receding consciousness, Tarifa could make out the voice of their lord.
その名にふさわしき歌劇だった。Kの正義、約定通り見届けたぞ。
Oh fuck, he's actually coming, isn't he? He had come to claim his vessel. No, with this, all was lost.
我がレギオンとなり、とはに安らげ。
Tarifa's soul departed the divine vessel with an ear-piercing shriek. And that was not all.
金色の闇。
Girl, you might want to run. An aberration manifested above the altar, swallowing the statue of the Virgin Mary as it shed tears of blood, and the cross that appeared to have rusted in crimson. The golden chaos writhed, throbbed, and ultimately came alive. The beast, the devil, born of a million blood pacts,
Forged of an alloy of steel and bones and the flesh of men, he was the very embodiment of war. And so, the densely concentrated physical form of hell itself descended upon the mortal realm. Gold that shunned all light save for the beguiling luster of its own self, dispelling the night of the mortal realm with its radiance.
逃げろ。逃げるのです。レオンハルト。
ゲイか
Kay realized she could no longer recognize the priest's face. The raging golden chaos seemed to have perverted it. The frame of the man remained tall and delicate, but his cheeks had grown thinner, his eyes had retracted and grown hollow. His face turned into the mask of a debilitated old man. A mere shade of what was once a man, unable to bear the horror of his sins as he drowned himself in madness. Was that the soul of Valeria Tarifa? But then, why did it look nothing like the divine vessel? To whom did this impregnable body belong?
私は後悔などしていない。私は幾度生まれ変わろうと
Jesus, even the
私
voice.
にしかなれない。
Give props to the voice actor. Even he sounds like an old man now.
詫びもしないし、許しも請わない。ですがどうか、レオンハルト、我が娘よ。今すぐ逃げ続けなさい。たとえ1秒でも、一瞬でも。ハイドリヒ教を倒すことなど、誰にもできない。
We're fucked. Uh-oh. There he is! Okay. The laugh of the beast filled the chapel as the priest's soul vanished to the depths of the golden chaos. The monarch of destruction towered before Kay in all of his grandeur, the strongest and the vilest of souls that had ever graced the cosmos.
愛、夢、希望、信頼、友情、義心、いたわり。美しい。
Ooh, fuck.
見事なり戦参杯、レオンハルト、バルキュリア、トバルカイン。ケラ皆、我が僧侶として永遠に生きよう。昔日に約束した祝福を与える。
Oh, fuck.
皆、我が内で渦巻くがいい。
His voice boomed like a deafening explosion as the simmering gold reclaimed his divine vessel. In that moment, Kay understood everything.
これがこの器がハイドリヒ教
No wonder she could not destroy it. No wonder it seemed invincible. It was a vessel for a legion to dwell in, a divine contraption blessed with a multitude of defensive enchantments designed by the Mercury itself. It had been prepared as a cradle to host Reinhard Heydrich's soul during his triumphant return to the mortal realm. Valeria Tarifa could wield the lance only because he had been possessing the body of its true and rightful master.
しかり。ゆえにわかるな、レオンハルト。
Hi. As its rightful owner returned to the vessel, the God-Slayer's lance awoke to its true and supreme power. I gotta say, I like the design of the lance, though. Fleeing would be of little significance, for the tip of the holy lance could pierce all foes regardless of what rules they'd imposed upon the physical realm.
我がエインフェリアの列に加わるがいい。
The blessing of the beast, Kay could no longer escape the honor of everlasting slavery. She merely stood there in an absent-minded stupor, gazing at the golden tip of the lance as it slowly advanced towards her heart.
嫌だ
And so she begged desperately for someone to save her. Oh. There he is! 13 of 13. Swastika 7 of 8. Chapter 12, Fortis Fortuna Divan. End. I had only 15 minutes left, and I could have ended that chapter last time. No wonder people were upset by the cliffhanger. Jeez. Oh God! A gunshot reverberated across the wide hall. It had been launched to neither hurt nor even intimidate. However, one would have to possess a very special frame of mind not to label the action deranged. Those that knew the man in particular would most likely have been rendered speechless by the sight. Of course!
ちゃあ、やっぱダメだな。当たんね。
Shiro reloaded his pistol with a self-mocking grin. A simple process, but one he could barely carry out with his shaking fingers. That was the main reason why he couldn't hit his target. Shiro continued firing while casually humming a song or two. It had only been 2 days since he lost his dominant arm, but with his sense of balance all messed up, he had some serious trouble with precise aiming. To be fair, though, a normal man wouldn't even be able to stand under the same circumstances. At this point, only divine intervention could make the bullets from this Desert Eagle, a weapon he had trouble holding steady in his right hand, reach their target. Hell, he'd already wasted a good 30 rounds of this nonsense. However,
今のは惜しい。
little by little, his bullets drew closer to their target. Following each miss, Shiro would recalculate his aim and adjust the position of his mangled body accordingly. He wasn't all that keen on the whole thing, but now's not the time to mind appearances. This new approach to shooting might have been only something he came up with on the spot, but he needed to get his aim steady for tonight no matter what. And finally...
よっしゃ、命中。
That was the true nature of his deranged actions. Kasumi Ayase was tied to a 10-meter tall cross on the middle of the hall in the crucificial position, and Shiro had been trying to shoot off the chains holding her. He might have had no other options, but these still weren't the actions of a sane man. The hall was all but deserted save for them, and Kasumi herself remained unconscious, which meant there was no one around to stop Shiro from doing things that would otherwise give the likes of Ren Fuji a heart attack. Damn right it would.
ほらどうだ。
So he went in to save her. It took him 45 bullets, but he managed to ultimately achieve his goal without killing Kasumi in the process. The girl's body, now freed from most of its shackles, proceeded to slowly slide down the trunk of the cross.
そんでもう一発。
It seemed like he got the hang of it. The next bullet hit the rope supporting Kasumi's weight, and the girl plummeted down straight into the Hakenkreuz flag Shiro had set in place as a safety net. Even he knew that trying to catch a person falling from a 10-meter height with a single arm was generally not a good idea.
ま、こんなもんに包まれんのはお前も嫌だろうが、贅沢言うなよ。
Well, I mean, let's be fair. Your aim's pretty good.
それで、ほらバカスミ、朝だ、起きろ。
Shiro came closer to the obsidian round table, atop which, clad in the sheets of the Nazi flag, Kasumi continued her slumber. He lightly tapped her on the cheek a few times, prompting her to eventually open her eyes. Rise and shine, sleepyhead!
よ、お目覚めか？
シロ、ここどこ？
なんだお前、覚えてねえのか？
It was none other than she who guided him this way, after all.
私は別に何が何だか。桜井さんと学校に行って、それで。
ああ、もういい。よくわかんねえんならわかんねえでも。
A lengthy explanation would only be a pain in the ass, and Shiro did not feel like overanalyzing the situation. If she did not remember anything, it was probably just his mind playing tricks on him in a drug-induced stupor. I thought truth meant much anyways.
立てるかい、お姫様。王子様が迎えに来たよ。
なんかよくわかんないけど、あんたはどっちかっていうと人さらいでしょ？
そりゃ言えて妙だな。まあ似たようなもんさ。ほら、立ちな。
Smiling, Shiro offered his right hand to Kasumi, who, still in somewhat off a daze, was about to take it when...
ちょっとあんた、何よその怪我。
Wow, kinda took you a long time.
あ？
じゃないわよ。なんでそんなんなってんのよ。
お前が寝てる間にちょっと狂犬と喧嘩してたな。
Right.
ふざけないで。
Shiro spoke the truth, though he knew the girl wouldn't understand even if he explained everything in detail. And even assuming she did, all that would await him was an hour-long sermon on how to behave like a proper man. Understanding the futility of the conversation, Shiro raised his right hand in a mock display of surrender. Kasumi was about to say something, but seemed to swallow her words in the last minute, and instead proceeded to bandage Shiro's left shoulder with a piece of cloth she tore off from her uniform.
本当にもうあんただってバカなことばっかり。
We are pretty stupid, aren't we?
どうするのよこれ。どうなんのよこれ。なんであんたたちばっかりいつも勝手に盛り上がって勝手にいろいろなくしてきて。
ま、そのうち生えてくんだろ。
You drinking all that jelly juice? Is that what's doing it?
トカゲの尻尾じゃないんだよ。
Firing a heavy gun like his Desert Eagle caused the stitching in Shiro's left shoulder to tear, making it bleed again. Kasumi made sure to put some force into her bandaging to show him she was serious, but Shiro simply answered her with a smile.
痛くないの。
こういう時、大概の男は痛くねえって言うもんだ。
It was the truth. His body had long since lost the ability to feel pain. Same went for his sense of smell and taste. It likely wouldn't be long until his eyes and ears gave out too, and then his brain would turn to mush. Massive pain for sure, but pretty convenient in its own way. If a good night's rest couldn't fix him up, he might as well live with what little life he had left to the fullest. That's depressing. Or steal the secret of immortality from one of those psychos. They seem to have already missed the boat on that one.
つうわけで、いい加減離れろよお前。いつまでも女みたいにベソベソと泣いてんな。
私女だもん。
女らしい女は嫌いなんだよ、俺。
If she needed someone to embrace, should have picked Ren. At least then, that would have resulted in an entertaining quarrel to lift Shiro's spirits. But as he was about to completely lose himself in thought...
何？
Kasumi raised her head as she felt Shiro's muscles suddenly tense up. The next moment, however, the young man's hand grasped the back of her head and suddenly pushed her face into his chest.
何よ、いきなり何すんのよ。
黙ってろ、お前。
Uh-oh. And close your eyes while you're at it. The words had been at the tip of his tongue, but Shiro decided to swallow them, instead focusing all his attention on the area directly behind him. It didn't take long for Kasumi to also sense the abnormality in the air, or rather, she was allowed to sense it.
シロ。
Her normally laid-back childhood friend, whose easygoing attitude would endure even the harshest of situations, was now trembling like a leaf. She could not believe it. Being squeezed so tight in his embrace, she possessed no means to dismiss it as a momentary error of her senses. Even his heart was beating like a drum.
そりゃまあ、そうそう甘くはねえと思ってたけどよ。
He did not expect to run into a thing like that. He could feel rise up from the very bottom of his heart, filling his entire being.
面白くなってきた。誰だよ、お前。
He had a guess or two, though. He stood at the edge of the obsidian round table in between the seats labeled Seksh and Saiban. In other words, the seat right in front of him was...
名前、知らねえんだ。教えてくれよ。
Draisen.
カールクラフト。
Oh! Oh, God. I just wanted both of them. Kasumi took a gasp and began shivering all over, though not from the overwhelming pressure, but the aura of malice hanging heavy in the air. After all, she showed no reaction when the obsidian-clad shade first appeared. The thing that surprised both her and Shiro was something else entirely, a sensation that can only be described as foreknowledge. After all...
こりゃまた何の冗談だよ。
そんな嘘だよ。
His voice, his presence, his mannerisms.
どうしたのかな、お嬢さん。私が何か君の知人にでも似ていたかね。
Maybe. They looked the same, like twins. The man sitting on the seat labeled Draisen was the mirror image of a certain someone they knew better than anyone.
あなた誰？
Kasumi addressed the enigma in a trembling voice. Encountering a ghost or a demon would have likely affected her less than this man.
He had his voice and the same air about him, yet what lurked behind those eyes seemed nothing like the man she knew.
清掃13騎士団黒煙卓第13位
And behind the sweet and gentle, in a sense even meek disposition of the man lay
副司令カール・クラフト・メルクリウス捨てた名だがこの場ではそう言った方が理解は早いか
A nature most callous. He paid them no more heed than he would a piece of furniture. At the very least, that was Kasumi's first impression of him.
具足の友人ならば歓待せねばなるまいな
A terrifying sensation of despair and repulsion took hold of Kasumi's heart. Chapter 13. Nemo ante mortem beatus. Nemo translates to no one, doesn't it? I think that's the translation for it. I kicked the remnants of the church's gates out of the way, following it after the weird sword as it suddenly zapped out of its place in the ground. And what I saw there...
久しいな注意
Hello there!
ええ。お久しぶりです。ハイドリヒ教。
Three people stood at the far end of the chapel, right in front of the altar. A thoroughly astonished Sakurai, and a man I would never forget, Reinhard Heydrich, the head of the Obsidian Round Table. In between them stood a third person, a blonde woman wearing a soldier's uniform. Where did she come from? What on earth was going on here?
なぜ槍を止められたのです？あなたにその気があったなら、私たちなど薄髪に過ぎないはず。
At least we got another ally.
それを知ってなお立ちふさがる K の勇姿が見たかった悪くないぞバルキュリア大義だやはり見せてくれる
なるほどまんまとおびき出されたというわけですねベアトリス
Hello! I could not contain my amazement at the sound of that name.
ベアトリス
Beatrice? Wasn't that the name of the member who died 11 years ago? Why was she here, alive and acting as though she came to protect Sakurai? Either way, now is not the time to be lost in thought. If she came here to help us, then all the better. I only had to proceed with my initial goal. I took a long leap towards Sakurai, coiled my arms around her waist, and leapt backwards again. I had no idea what was going on, but being that close to the golden bastard couldn't have been safe.
大丈夫かよお前
藤井君
What's up?
神父は
To be fair, you're kind of looking at him. Did she kill him? If that was the case, then where did his body go?
ここだ
Hello there. Reinhard answered my bewilderment with a thin smile. He pressed his left palm against his chest before narrowing his pair of golden eyes.
生産杯は我が血肉あれは器の管理が終わったゆえ褒美として英霊の列に加えたまでだいつまた会える
Oh, bye.
K もしかりだバルキュリアレオンハルトの力を借りたとはいえそうもたやすく魂の具現化など普通はできぬ
分かっています私が出てこれたのは K が助けを求めたこと以上にあなたの力がより完全に近づいているということ7つのスワス地下にゆかりのある魂はもはや半ば以上にエインフェリア化が始まっている
そうだそしてあと一つ残っているそこで私から提案しよう
Straightening his back, Reinhard retracted his lance. At the same time, Beatrice too sheathed her blade and promptly took a few steps back towards us.
さっきはありがとう迷惑をかけてごめんなさいね
No problem. With that line, I finally noticed that the sword in her hands was without a doubt
あんたが4代目だったのか
ええでもその話は後ケイもいつまでボケっとしてるの そんなんじゃ彼氏に呆れられちゃうわよ。本当にいつまでも子供なんだから。うるさい。私は。
She shook off my arms and stood on her own 2 feet. Well, at least like she got some of her energy back. The problem, however, was the man facing us from the other end of the hall. Hey, the talk sprite! Look at that! So glorious! Also, his hair defies gravity as well. Reinhard considered us 3 for a moment before parting his lips to speak.
ケイラに人選を任せよ。聖筆を回すには5式を要する。王家の枠はこの器があれば事足りるが、シュライバーの穴埋めがいる。そしてケイラは3人だ。
After giving each of us a brief glance, he uttered the most insane thing I'd ever heard in my life.
殺し合え。
No.
それをもって第8を開く逃げとする。残る2人はアルベドの大隊と完成した私に道を見せてくれるもの。
You know, I was
その配役をここで選べ。
I was gonna call you a cocky bastard, but considering how powerful you are, you have every right to be as cocky as you are.
五色に連なる条件は私が英雄と認めた魂であることだ。故にビビしく見せてくれよ。ケイラの道のりが弾け消えゆくその様を、閃光を。
こいつ
何をいきなり。
こちらで選んでやっても良いのだぞ。だがその場合、誰になるかはおのずとわかろう。
He is literally the boss.
ええ、至極簡単な問いです、閣下。
While Sakurai and I were still pale as ghosts, Beatrice, by contrast, answered Reinhard in a stern, direct tone.
私に刑を切れとおっしゃるのですね。
しかり、それが優先順位だ。注意。カールの大隊には私を楽しませる義務があり、そして K はすでに半ばがエインフェリアと化している。この場で最も不要なものが誰なのかなど、あえて論ずるまでもない。
Bruh, she's standing right here. That's just rude.
所詮、早いか遅いかの問題であろう。これは慈悲だ。褒美と思え。
After all, they would all eventually become a part of him. It was their destiny. Hence, there was no need for doubt or hesitation. Reinhard regarded us in an arrogant manner, completely disinterested in our peril, yet a certain air of near amicable mildness still lingered about him. The bastard gave that command like it was the most natural thing in the world. And that is, well, to be fair, again, he has the power to back up his cockiness.
愛しい男を、他をやめよう。私との争いから解放する唯一にして最後の木だ。守ると誓った者が目の前で豪華に顔を歪める様など見るに耐えまい。故に解釈を、安らかにバルハラへと行けるよう、己が思い人を手にかけよう。悪くない話であろうが。
He was neither scornful nor patronizing. Rather, I could see genuine consideration in his eyes. The guy was serious, as crazy as that sounded. He genuinely thought that a battle to the death would cause us less woe than trying to challenge him. He truly believed it to be a form of mercy.
なるほど。これが。
Yep, this is the guy that you followed.
ええ、よくわかったでしょ。
This was Reinhard Heydrich, the head of the Obsidian Round Table, the lord to whom the likes of Wilhelm, Schreiber, and Trifa answered, the harbinger of beguiling light. He was neither human nor a beast. Devil was the sole word I could come up with to describe him. The bastard was so far off the deep end I couldn't help but rely on banalities to explain his nature.
アリをめでる戦車ほど気味の悪いものはない。
That is such a strange comparison, but it is extremely fitting.
人語を介する天才ほど危険に感じるものもない。
Yeah, could you imagine if hurricanes and shit like that actually started talking to people? Oh, by the way, I'm going to destroy a good portion of your land. It's not my fault, just nature, kind of how it is. Although technically it's your guys' fault, so... He considered destruction and carnage the highest form of a blessing. He believed that being swallowed to become a part of him meant the utmost honor one could receive. He was Mephistopheles, the beguiling light.
それってどうする？
We had but one answer to spit back at him.
断る。
Ha-ha! Any further conversation would be pointless.
ここでお前を倒せば全部終わる。
あなたはこの世にいてはならない。
第8が解放され手に負えなくなってしまう前に。
I do believe that is the best possible thumbnail I think I have ever seen. Reinhard, gazing down at the three of us, all ready to plunge ourselves into lethal battle, could hardly contain laughter spilling forth from his lips. According to Beatrice, the bastard's power had yet to reach its full capacity. If we ever wished to bring him down, it had to be now.
カールよ、聞こえるか？ K の助言、真摯に受け止め実行したいが。
The massive lance shifted in his grip, its golden tip a tremble as something invisible emerged from it. A moment later, a powerful sense of imbalance assaulted me, as if the ground itself had been swept out from under my feet.
しかし、これはそうもいくまい。部下の意も組まねばならん。
いけない。
Beatrice leapt towards Reinhard as an odd sensation of weightlessness overtook me. Sakurai and I realized something ominous was afoot, followed after her.
ザミエル。
Oh fuck. Right. Even without Schreiber under his command, two of his Imperial guards still remained.
マキナよ。
The Crimson Knightess and the Somber Knight, Rubeto and Negrito, the two indomitable captains of the Einrjar.
ケイラの獲物だ。くらえ。
Oh, fuck!
ラボーマインヘル。
ベアトリス。
A gust of crimson fire swept forth from Reinhard's left shoulder, engulfing Beatrice in its seething embrace. As for myself, a black fist with the power of a battering ram, having suddenly emerged from Reinhard's right shoulder, came crashing down on me, dwarfing even Tubal Cain in size. The goddamn freak! The three of us were swept apart in an instant. Although I leapt into motion just in time to barely evade a direct blow from the giant, the terrible gust of air that came to life as he swung his monster of an arm sent me flying, as if my body was a mere pebble before his might. I felt as if gravity itself had taken a permanent leave from the pocket dimension now keeping us prisoner, blacking a beginning and an end, a ceiling or firm foundation, a void of fierce vertigo boiling in the fury of his golden flame. As I was being flung around in that violent whirlwind of impenetrable darkness, I finally understood what was happening.
その男は墓に住み、あらゆるものも、あらゆる鎖も、あらゆるすべてをもってしてもつなぎ止めることができない。
No mortal man under the sun, no powers that be, no chains that bind shall constrain him. For he dwells in the nether, a soul from the grave is he.
彼は爆砂をちぎり、枷を壊し、古い泣き叫ぶ墓の主。この世のありとあらゆるものすべて、彼を抑える力を持たない。
His shackles crumble, his chains fall limp onto the ground before his will. He, the dweller in the grave, his cries of mingling agony and madness. No man, no divine breath that coursed the veins of this universe hold the power to subdue him. The world itself twisted before my eyes as the invocation reverberated in the air. From within the seething sea of molten gold rose an army of a myriad skeletons, welling forth with no end, numbering in the millions. They merged and joined to each other, their bones forming a fortress of the fallen.
ゆえ、神は問われた。貴様は何者か。
And so the Lord asked, What manner of beast are you? This
was the world Reinhardt craved for.
愚問なり無知もうまい知らぬならば答えよう
Your lips breathe folly. Your question a sage intellect would never hatch. If you know what I am, very well I shall answer.
我が名はレギオン
Know my name, for it is Legion. Oh God. A throne built from a sea of corpses, forged for Reinhard Heydrich alone to rest upon.
ブリア
The golden chaos erupted with a thunderous roar, swallowing me, Sakurai, and Beatrice into its depths. Before us stretched the sacred halls of Valhalla.
グラズヘイムグランカムビフュンフトベルトール
Apotheosis, the fifth universe of gold! Oh. Beatrice Kerdesign could no longer escape. She struggled with all her might, but the hellish flames coiled around her throat like fingers, their iron grip mercilessly preventing any and all attempts at flight.
ビッテンブルグ少佐
そう嫌うなキルヒアイゼ60年ぶりだ積もる話もあまたある
私は
ああ悪くないよく戻ってきた嬉しいぞクリストフの茶番に乗ってやった甲斐もあるよくぞあのゲスを成敗した褒美を受け取るがいい
Oh, fuck. An inferno violent enough to melt even steel swallowed Beatrice and plunged into the depths of chaos like a giant snake, carrying the two women to their designated field of battle.
何人たりとも邪魔はさせ貴様と私と二人だけのあの頃帰り共に語らおう待ち望んだぞこの時を
私も
Enveloped by a fresh wave of hellfire, Beatrice steeled her resolve. She knew it would eventually come down to this. In fact, she too had been awaiting this hour just the same. The Crimson Knightess before her was but a shadow of her former superior, a mere husk of the woman she once respected from the bottom of her heart. The two of them had braved countless battlefields together, weathering storms of gunfire on several occasions. Beatrice could hardly bear to look at her in this state. The sight filled her chest only with anguish. Nonetheless, the immortal princess of blue steel, swallowing her tears, addressed the other with a loud cry.
あなたを救いますビッテンブルグ少佐剣も誇りも人であることも捨てたあなたに私は絶対負けたりしない
Stern and vigorous, yet foolish and reeking of inexperience, the famed Valkyrie of Thrud, the lily of the battlefield. Eleanor demanded that the girl remain in her service for all eternity. Hell, that's literally what's going on right now. Before they knew it, the underground of the church, the chamber of the obsidian table, had been filled with countless skeletons. They emerged from the walls, the floor, the ceiling, everywhere, enveloping the room in a white mass of bones. Still on the seat at the table, Mercurius's lips curled into a faint smile.
ここに飲まれたが最後、1000度の列に加わるしか道はない。だが
Although what? Without even glancing at the man, Shiro pulled the trigger of his gun, shattering Mercurius's cranium. Yet the obsidian shade continued his tirade, seemingly unaffected by losing half of his head.
そうだ、あがけどこまでも。所詮魔人連星など放末に耐えられぬ私のような弱者の技だ。君ら人である者こそが、あるいは怪奇を断つ鍵やもしれぬ。その魂に嫉妬すら覚える。ぐちゃぐちゃとまあ、わけのわかんねえことを。
The bullet had most certainly hit him right in the head, but instead of causing damage, seemed to have been swallowed into a dark mist the moment it touched him. For not a single scratch blemished the obsidian shade once Shiro turned around to face him.
見れば見るほどありえねえよ、てめえの面は。
Clad in the darkest of robes that made the contours of his lean frame obscured like a hazy shadow, the long-haired man did not seem older than 20, his face a mirror image of a person Shiro knew all too well.
あなた、さっきレンのお父さんだって。
In a manner of speaking? Kasumi spoke with a trembling voice. The shock from that statement overwhelmed her even more so than the emergence of the Castle of the Dead. She needed an answer, no matter how terrifying it might be.
答えて。あなたはレンの何なの？
つうより、レンがお前の何だ？
The piece, father, son, I don't know. Father, son, Shiro would not believe such drivel. Still, the man before him must have been related to Ren in one way or another.
具足というのはただの比喩。
Ah, I figured. The obsidian Mercury answered their animosity and befuddlement with a thin smile. Such a poignant question. The emotion men called friendship was indeed most dazzling. Even a jester like himself could comprehend the beauty of that ephemeral glimmer. Thus, once asked, he could do naught but provide an answer.
あれは我が分身、我が創造物。
The transmutation of a demon. If he could not wield the girl and her power, then all he had to do was to create one who could.
永劫を駆け抜け、怪奇の輪を超越し破壊する。元来すべては彼のために私が用意したものだ。
The Longinus Dryzen Orden had been merely an experiment. A little test before putting his true design into motion.
あれは私の生物。
Holy fuck! A sentient terminal that had been in better synchrony with Iwakite, his sorcery, than anyone else. So wait, I'm on an airbay that can wield on an airbay?
奏者だ。
お前は俺と同じだ。
Oh boy. A somber voice, heavy like an iron hammer, reached my ears through the raging whirlwind.
兄弟、苦しく待ったぞ、この時を。
I couldn't tell how long it took, maybe a moment or perhaps an eternity, but before I knew it, I had found myself in an unfamiliar place. Where am I now? Under the gaze of skies that the color of lead, I landed on a stone floor cold as ice and reddish brown like congealed blood. It took but a mere glance to understand that thousands of men had lost their lives in this place. It looked almost like an architectural design of olden times dating back to ancient Rome. This massive thing looked just like it, and I collapsed onto my knees, assailed by an abrupt splitting headache and a sudden lack of air, like my lungs had ceased to function. It felt as if something mortally ominous had been trying to tear through my chest and skull to escape into the open.
懐かしいだろ。
Hi! A stout man towered before me, clad in black, his eyes like those of a dead fish, yet an undeniable aura of ruination hung about him. I remembered seeing him before. That was what they called him, a word that described him in two senses. A machine whose sole desire was to put an end to all, to lower the curtains on the play of life. The sole survivor and champion of this gauntlet of malice, a man who had been born from the deaths of thousands upon thousands of soldiers.
俺とお前が生まれた場所だ。
Gotz von Berlichigen, once a war hero, now a mere shell with no recollection of his past glory. He and I.
兄弟、この地で我らの血をすすごう。
We were brothers in the strongest sense of the word. We shared the same flesh and blood, came from the same father.
歓迎しよう、レオンハルト。
I need a moment. I know I'm ending the episode here. I just... Oh... I don't think anything is okay for right now. Nothing is okay. Nothing is it's no longer more than okay. Nothing is okay. Everything's just kind of... Holy shit! Yeah. I need to take a moment to kind of process every fucking thing that just happened there. I'm ending it there. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I think I might have just shit myself. Hello there, everybody. Sabato92 here, and if you like this video, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. And hey, if you guys like my content, then maybe you'd like to check out another channel who I think deserves equal attention. So click that nightmare emblem and check out that channel, or go to the links in the description down below. Once again, thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.